Hey everyone, in today's video, we're going to be using Hostinger's WordPress feature to build our very own e-commerce sports site. I'll guide you through each step, showing off all the features and how they work. And even if you're thinking about a business site or a personal portfolio, these tips work all the same. But if you haven't joined Hostinger yet, no worries. I've dropped a link in the description with a great offer, including a site-wide discount and additional months of free use. However, you can receive an extra 10% off when you copy the Site Starters code in our description and use it when you're checking out with Hostinger. Full transparency though, when you use our link, we do get a commission, so you're also helping us out as well. Now, with all that being said, how about we get started? To purchase a web hosting plan with Hostinger, you can go to the menu and click on this arrow to access the web hosting section, or you can just scroll down a bit and find them on the homepage. Now, if you want more information about Hostinger's plans, you can check out the link in the description. That'll take you to a video where I talk more about that. But as to how to buy, you just click on Add to Carts. Then it'll take you to the payment page where you can change the billing period. The important thing to keep in mind is that the longer the period, the less you pay right now, and that every plan except for the monthly one includes a free domain, which you'll want to pick up so that you can actually publish your website. Down below this, you need to create an account through either a Facebook or Google profile. This is mandatory, otherwise you can't purchase it. So you just click on this, I'll go with Google in this case, and you select your account. Then just give them permission to connect it to Hostinger, and once it's finished, it'll then take you back to the payment page. We'll scroll back down again, and you'll see some of the things that you get with your plan, including that free domain. On the left side, you select your preferred payment method and fill out these fields. Of course, don't forget to use that Site Starters coupon code. And all that's left to do here is to just input your payment credentials and hit submit. Afterwards, this page will load up, which you just promptly click on skip down here, and then again, you skip on this one too. And this is an important page, but right now we're not going to fiddle around with this. We'll come back to it, but right now just click on the Hostinger logo at the top. Then click on the Websites tab and select Create or Migrate a Website. It'll ask you a few questions like who the site is for, but really none of these are quite relevant since I'm taking you through it myself, so don't worry, just click on any of the options. The first significant step is when we get to the Create or Migrate a Website page where you need to select Create. Once you've done that, then we come to the most important part of this video where we can choose Hostinger's AI Builder or WordPress. We're going with WordPress, of course, but I just wanted to point out that the two have their individual strengths, as the AI Builder is better for business and portfolio sites, while WordPress is ideal for blogs and online stores, so it's something to keep in mind depending on what you need a site for. Nonetheless, from here, just select WordPress. The next page will ask you to make login credentials for your WordPress account. Choose the language, set up a reliable email, and an admin password that you can write down somewhere. Once you've taken care of that, hit continue. Following this, you can add all of these plugins to your site just by checking off these boxes from the left-hand side. I recommend enabling all of them because they're important to have. For example, WooCommerce is useful for e-commerce sites because it includes payment options and shipping configurations. Meanwhile, the rest of these are tailored to search engine optimization with the purpose of increasing customer engagement and giving you the necessary analytics to keep track of that. Next up, it'll take you to this website design page where you can select your color palette. This is something we'll change later on, so it doesn't quite matter what you select right now. The same goes for these next two pages. We're going to customize our text style as well as describe our site when we're working on WordPress, so you can just skip this. And now we're back on this page. So here is where we're going to use that domain name we got with our plan. So you just click on select here, name your domain, choose an extension over here from the drop-down menu, and you can check if it's available. It doesn't really matter which extension you use, it's just a matter of personal opinion really. But once you've found one that's free, you go ahead and hit continue, and then you're going to have to choose your location. The next step is to input your contact details, then finish the registration. It will then start installing all the necessary tools and features, and when it's done, it's going to ask you if you want to go back to the Hostinger dashboard or go to the admin panel to start making our site. The choice is pretty clear here, so let's click on the first option to get into it. Now we're finally at the WordPress dashboard, and we're going to head over to the plugins tab on the left-hand side here. From our options, we'll click on add a new plugin. Plugins are an extension of WordPress, so it makes our lives a whole lot easier when building a site. Trust me. Next, go to the search bar and look up Starter. This is a page building platform that is the best for beginners because it simplifies WordPress, so it's a lot less overwhelming. That being said, it's going to be the first option that pops up, and then you go over to the install box right here and hit install. Afterwards, an activate button will appear, which you'll click on as well. Once you've done so, you'll then be asked to select which of these 3 page builders you want to use, and my preference is Elementor because I like the tools and it's generally very accessible, so we'll click on that one. This will take you to another round of templates that you can pick from. At the top, you'll have a selection of categories to narrow down what fits you best, whether that's business, personal care, or professional. I'm making an e-commerce sports store, so we'll go to that tab, and in the drop-down menu, I'll pick the sports store option. You'll also notice that some templates have this premium tag in the corner, and those you have to pay for, otherwise everything else is free. And again, if you click on any template, you can preview it and see how it functions just by scrolling through it. On the left side, you have the option of adding a logo, and you can do so just by clicking on the box and uploading it. But I'll show you how to do that later since we're not going to be using this template and need to remove all of the default content. And also, don't worry about whichever one you do pick. The steps are all the same and you won't get lost. Therefore, we'll just click on skip and continue, at which point we'll come across the colors and fonts options. Here you're able to change the color palette by selecting any of the presets here. Same goes for the fonts down below. You have some defaults, but in my opinion, all of these are very basic. So I'll show you how to really make your site stand out by making our own, meaning don't mind this and just click on continue. And following this, the last thing Elementor asks you is to input your name, email, level of expertise with building websites, and who you're making your site for. This will solely affect the suggestions that WordPress gives you as you make the site, but since I'm here, you don't need to fill this out, so just hit submit and build the website, at which point it'll start building it, and you just have to wait a couple seconds. Once it's finished generating, you'll be taken to this screen giving you another preview of your site. What I want you to do first though is head towards the top left and right click on the WordPress logo right here and just open this link in a new tab because we'll need to head back to the WordPress dashboard in a minute. As for now, just go back to the previous tab, head to the top of the page and click on Edit with Elementor. And then it takes us to the Elementor interface where we can start working on our site. Right now, this template is a bit distracting, so before I start explaining things, let's get rid of this clutter. To do that, make your way down to the bottom left and click on this settings gear. Also, a friendly tip, to head back to the main toolbar, go to the top left here. Click on the 3 lines, then a backwards arrow will appear and then you'll be back. Now, back to the general settings section, you'll go down to where it says page layout and click on this box to find Elementor Canvas because it gets rid of the footer and header, leaving us just with a plain background. So click on that, then hit update right here. You should make sure that you update something every time you make a change, just for good measure. If you also want to undo something, down here you'll find this middle tab titled History, where you can find earlier versions and revisions that you've made. Now let's just head back to our main toolbar by clicking on these 3 lines and then the backwards arrow, where we'll start deleting things. So to do that, just hover over any part of the page and then this little toolbox will pop up at the top. I'll explain in more detail when this is all deleted, but for now, just click on the X and that's how you delete sections in Elementor. Once you've done that, you'll be left with a blank page. Now, the 3 widgets here include your containers, which are templates for each section of your site. We'll be using this very frequently. Then the folder to the right here consists of Elementor templates or blocks that you can use instead of making them yourself. In the top left, you can even categorize what kind of block you're looking for by clicking on it and finding it in the drop-down menu. Keep in mind, some of these are exclusive to Elementor Pro users, so if you don't want to pay, then don't use anything titled Pro. Then if you go to the next tab over, you can use the templates provided to you for entire pages, which we won't need for this tutorial. Now let's head out of this by clicking on the X button. As for this third option here, this is just the same templates we had to pick from earlier on, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's check out the tools on the left-hand side though. So the layout tab includes the container. Personally, I don't use this much because the containers from the widgets offer more variety in terms of what you can add to the page. Then, the basic tools consist of your header text, images that you can upload to your page, and the text editor. You'll come to see that we'll be spending most of our time in the basics section because it provides us with all the tools to make a clean site. All of the tools also have customization options, which I'll explain as we use them so there's no confusion. As for everything else on the toolbar, a lot of it is only accessible for Elementor Pro customers, so we can't use them even if we wanted to. But if we scroll far enough, we'll come across the general tools, and we'll be using some of these from time to time. So, to improve our quality of life, just scroll back to the Pro title and click on it to collapse it, and now our general tools are easier to access. We also have the ability to preview and edit our site on desktops, tablet, and mobile devices just by heading down to the bottom here in responsive mode. Then at the top, we can select which layout we want, though since WordPress accommodates all platforms, we don't need to worry about this. So for now, we can just close this by clicking on the X on the right-hand side. Now let's head over to our widgets here and select a container. I'll select this one with 2 sections because I want to make an image carousel, like when those pictures scroll by themselves when you're on a website. You'll see in a moment. So when selected, it shows up at the top here and allows us to add things by prompting the customization settings to open up on the left. The content, style, and advanced tabs are up here by default, and we'll find them when we edit content, but the options change according to what elements we're using. Therefore, I'll explain the customization features as we go along because, quite frankly, Elementor is super detailed and it makes it a lot easier for you to make sense of it rather than just me explaining broadly what something does and then forgetting about it. So the first thing we need to do is add some text to our container. We'll do that by clicking on this plus button, and it takes us back to our main sidebar menu. Now, Elementor allows us to drag and drop items, which makes it super convenient. So I'll take this text heading right here, drag it to the container, and this purple box shows us where it will be placed. And just like that, we drop it and we can edit this text. You have the option of doing it from this box or going to the heading itself in the preview and changing it. I want to display a new catalog here, so I'll just write something in that capacity. Now this is a little big, so we'll go down to this sizing feature and check out our options. Large should do us just fine. We can also change the alignment down here from left, center, and right. I'll leave it in the center in this case. Then in the Styles tab, we have more aesthetic options. We're able to change the color of the preset options on the left or adjust the palette to something more personal in the other box. Down below is the typography that allows us to alter the font. Similarly, there are presets you can choose from which aren't half bad, but on the right you can get more specific as to what you want to change. There are plenty of options when you click on this box, and then when you're set on what you want, you can change the size from here as well. As for everything else in this tab, it's not exactly relevant to what we're doing here because we don't need it. Same goes for the advanced section. There's just too much going on here. We could make a whole other video about it, so we'll just leave that right now. Next thing that I'm going to add is an image carousel. So we'll go down to our general section and drag it into the other part of this container. To add pictures, you click on this box right here on the left. The gallery will then open up and you can use some of Elementor's free images or upload your own, which is what we're going to do. So click on the Upload Files tab, go to Select Files, and find the content you want to add. And in case you were wondering, all of these photos here are ones that I found for this video. You'll of course have your own, but my general recommendation is to place everything you have into a folder because it makes it easier to access. But I digress. So once you've added the content, it'll take a second to load up in the gallery. You can then go to the bottom right and click on Create a New Gallery, and then again insert Gallery to apply it to the image carousel. It looks a bit imbalanced right now, so let's scale down the text to make room for the gallery. To do so, just hover over the box and you'll see this prompt that allows you to resize it. We'll adjust the text box to be at around 25%. Then expand the other side to take up the rest of the space. These images are not of the best quality, I'll admit, so we'll head over to the Image Resolution tab and adjust it on the left. Depending on the circumstances, any of these will do, but I'll go with large in this case. Down below, you can customize how many images you want to show at a time as well. In the Styles tab, there's also customization options for the arrows, such as their placement, size, and color, as well as the pagination, which are these dots that show up down below. There's no need to change this, so we'll leave it as it is. I want to now add another element, that being a button, without the use of a container. I know, daring. So we'll head back to our main menu. Then we'll find our button and drag it just below the header text. However, now you'll notice we can place it all around this element because multiple purple boxes are highlighted, so it's quite flexible. Nevertheless, I'll just add it right below here, prompting yet another set of customization options. The most important being the text, which we can change inside this box, then the link attached to it, which we'll address later on when we've made a couple pages. A little below that is the alignment, which is the same as before, and also the button sizing options if you do want to change it. And in the Styles tab, as we've come to learn, is where the colors and fonts reside. For this button, I just want to change the background color, so go to background type, pick classic, and down here, much like we've already done, we can change the color. However, I'm not liking how the button and the text are all the way up here. It looks a little imbalanced again. So to solve that, I'll head to our menu and we'll find the spacer. Then we'll drag it just above this text, and the options here are pretty limited, so I'll just adjust it slightly and that should do the trick. Now I want to add the logos for the sports leagues we're selling apparel from. So we'll just go with the 4 leagues to make it simple, and you know the drill already. Pick the correct container, click on the plus symbol, grab our image tool and drag it into here. This is much like when we were adding the image carousel. Click on this box, it'll open up the gallery. We transfer the photos we want and then we can use them. In this case, it'll be one at a time, so we'll grab this NBA one first, and to select it, just go to the bottom right and hit select. However, if you want to delete an image, you can just hover over this box, and then in the top right, you'll see this trash can and it's gone. And if you want to delete anything else in particular on your site, just right click on it and then this menu will show up, and at the bottom you can delete it. Moreover, the content and style tabs here are a bit different than in our previous cases because this time we have the image resolution and alignment settings, which are fine as of now, but then in the style tab there are dimensions that require a little fiddling around with. Now, it's all relative as to what you want your size to be, but the most important thing to note is that when you adjust the height, it will open up another settings option titled Object Fit, where you can choose any of these options. But my preference is Contain because it allows you to resize the image as a whole rather than having to balance out the width and max width at the same time. Okay, so now you know how to add images, so I'm just going to add the rest of the logos using this same process and then be right back with you. Now that I'm done adding the rest of the logos, let's give this background a bit of a different look. To do that, we'll go to the 6 dots right here at the top to access our container settings. We have similar features here that we've had all throughout the process so far, so you should be a lot more familiar with them than you were at the beginning. Now, we have to adjust the width and height, and I'm going to go for something narrower. I'm looking to make a sleek look here, very simplistic. The next important thing for me is to align this so it's organized, and we can do that in the Align Items option. This is to correct any alignment mistakes we made when adjusting the dimensions just a few moments ago, and you'll notice when I select Center, it lines it up really well. Then the best part of this is when we head to the Styles tab, since we can change the background color, the gradients, as well as add a video and gallery. Those might be a bit distracting, so let's stay away from that, but we will change the background so the homepage isn't just one solid color. Now it's got some depth to it. If we wanted, we could also add a border to the container by heading down to the border menu and expanding this, which we will do, just not yet. Just below this, I'll include some of the best selling brands that we have, which will have player brands like CR7 and Air Jordan. If you don't know who those are, well, whatever. But just like for our leagues, I will show you how to do this once, and then I'll follow the same process for these subsequent ones. So, the first thing to do is to add a heading element. You don't always need to open up a container to be able to add elements, especially if you have one. In this case, I'm only going to add one thing in this container, so I'll drag it into this widgets area. I could also move this container around by grabbing it by these 6 dots and readjusting it, but since it's fine where it is, we're just going to keep it there. Now I'm going to write something related to these brands to categorize them, just to give some promo. Afterwards, I'll just center them and change it to large again, just so it's less obnoxious than the default size. I'll also add a spacer because it's a bit too close to this other container, and 15 works fine. Then we'll go back to using a container. 4 works for this one because we don't want to overwhelm the customer. I'll add another image in this first block, just need to make sure I upload it to Elementor first by finding it and transferring it and placing it in the block. To access our object fit settings, we have to click the Style tab and trigger it by adjusting the heights. Pick Contain from the drop-down menu, and I'll tweak the dimensions to make it look right. Now, as mentioned, I'm just going to do this 3 more times using this same process, and then we'll move on to the next section. The following thing we're going to include is an accordion. No, not the musical instruments, but a drop-down block of our own where we have a mini menu. So, we'll find this by heading back to our main menu and scrolling down to the general elements. We'll grab this and put it right below the Air Jordan logo. Since we have 2 blocks in this accordion, we're going to get rid of one. You can do that just by going to the left and clicking on X for one of them. To edit the accordion, click on it and you can change the title, which we will, and then down below you can edit the text, which we will also do. Now, we have to give it a little description because we want to give this brand a little more depth and info for the customers. So I'll just repeat this process 3 more times and we'll see how it looks afterwards. Okay, so that looks a lot better. It's coming together. So next thing we're going to add is a chance to win free tickets. So we'll ask the customer to enter their email and then they might be selected to win tickets. So to do this, let's grab ourselves a container with 2 blocks as we did earlier on. Then we're going to add a heading titled such as enter your email to potentially win free tickets. Make sure to align it, and this time we'll also add subtext to give a little description here. We'll add another text box, but instead of going to our menu, I will just duplicate this one by right-clicking and going to duplicates. Here I'll ask the customer to just specify what team they support so we know what league to get tickets for. Moreover, let's go ahead now and minimize this in the Styles tab, head to Typography, and adjust it to something less distracting. On the right side, let's add a picture just to make it pop some more. So, as we've done plenty of times already, hit the plus, drag the image element, head to our gallery, upload files, and find the picture we want. I have a picture of tickets here, which are probably at the bottom. Yeah, here they are. Let them load up in Elementor, select them, and we are in business. Now let's add a contact form, and to do this, let's head to our main menu and scroll down until we see this element called WP Forms. Drag this sucker just below the text, and it's going to ask us to select a form from the drop-down menu. From the options here, I'll click on Contact, and then the contact form will be all set up. You should also know that if you go to where it says New Form on the left, you can actually change the setup and the layout of the contact form based on the templates available. There are categories on the site as well that might be more relevant to what you need. I'm fine with what we have, but just keep that in mind. Now let's back out of this and adjust the picture of these tickets to be more in line with the content on the left. Meaning we'll go back to our menu again and add a spacer just above this image and set it to be something more balanced. And lastly, for the homepage, we're going to add some testimonials to give our site some credibility, let's say. First, I'll add a container with 2 blocks, which is all we need. Now, the testimonials are in the general tools section, so we go down there and grab the testimonials, drag it into the first block, duplicate it by right-clicking, of course, and put the other one into the other block. So we can change the text up on the left here, but this should be standard knowledge by now. I'll write something about a customer's experience with this site, obviously positive. To change the other text below, like their name and who they are, just go down here where it says name and title. The last necessary thing to change right now is the image icon, which can be replaced the same way we've been doing it this whole time. Just go to the box on the left and then import it into Elementor. I'll do the same to the other block and we'll move on to how we can add a menu and a footer. Okay, so we have 2 testimonials rounding out everything that I feel is necessary for our homepage. Now, before we're able to add our menu at the top and footer at the bottom though, we need to make a page to add to our menu. And what I want you to do now is go to this icon down here labeled as Preview Changes. And this is perfectly placed actually because now we can see what our site looks like up until now and preview all the changes that we've made. So testimonials, and you'll notice how the accordions are fully functional, which is really cool to see. Now, to add a new page, you go to the top of the page right here where it says New, and then from this drop-down menu, you click on Page. This will take you to the WordPress template builder where all we really need to do is give it a title, and I'll name this the About Us page. Then go up here to where it says Publish. It will ask you again to do so, and so you hit Publish a second time, and that part is done. Now, I'm going to make pages for things like the contacts, our jersey catalog, terms of service, brands, and the rest of the ones I'll just put on screen so you know which ones I'm going to make. Then I'll use the same process I used for this one, and afterwards we'll move on to the plugins. Alright, so multiple pages have been added, and now let's head back to our WordPress dashboard tab that we opened up earlier on, because we need to install our menu and footer plugin. So to do that, we go down to the plugin section right here, and then we add a new plugin from this option. And then once this loads up, go to the top right and search up Elementor Header and Footer Builder. Now it should be the first one that pops up. If it's not, just look for an app with this icon. And same as before, to install it, we just hit install now, wait for it to install. And then after it's done, we don't have to click activate. Rather, we want to just go down to this appearances tab. And then from this drop-down menu, once it opens up, we go to the menu option right here, which is possible because we downloaded the plugin. Then when the next page opens up, you want to scroll down here to the middle of the page, and now we can actually start working on our menu. So first things first, in this bar, you want to name your menu. I'm going to name it the main menu because it is. And then right here, you want to select primary menu because this is our main menu and we want it to appear as such. It's mainly for organization purposes, so later on when you have more menus, you don't get confused. Now, after you've clicked on the primary menu box, you want to click on Create Menu to essentially save your changes. And it's then going to refresh the page, and we scroll back down here again, and on the left hand side you'll see all of the pages that you can add. Now you'll notice this is the About Us page that we made together, and these are the other pages I made afterwards, and the other things here are just pages that I worked on for other sites that I had made, so that's what that is. Now, what I'm going to add to my main menu is some of the most crucial things such as catalogs and items that customers will want to see. So that's going to include jerseys, equipments, brand, shoes, and sneakers, and also let's add an About Us section there. So to add this to your menu, you don't want to just go to Save Menu, click on Add to Menu. I'm mentioning this because I made that mistake a couple times. I'm like, where are all the items that I added? Well, I didn't actually add them. So now we have all of these check marked, and we want to click on Add to Menu, and then again, it's going to refresh the page. And then now you'll see how all 5 of these items are now on our main menu. Now, a cool thing about Elementor and WordPress in general is that if you take one of these menu item blocks and drag it around, you can put it wherever you want and change the arrangement. And if you put it, or if you hover one of these blocks above another one, then it's going to include it as a sub item. So you're essentially making a drop-down menu. So you can see how it identifies this as a sub item. And now if you go to the site, it's going to include this as another option for the jerseys. Now we don't want to do that. We want to have this on its own. So now we have 5 individual items on our menu and rearranged. So we want to make sure that we save that again. We don't want to lose that progress. And to make your footer, the process is largely the same, except this time you're going to have this option to create a new menu from the Edit Menus tab. So you just click on Create a New Menu. It's going to refresh the page. Then you scroll down, and in the main menu name, you just want to name it the footer, and then go down to this footer menu box, check it off. It's going to refresh again, and then afterwards the process is the same. You just want to select what you want for this particular menu. We scroll down again, and what I want is the contact and questions, terms of service, shipping and returns, and then the About Us. The About Us is more aesthetic. Personally, I just like to have that in all my menus. Now, as for these 3 contact, terms of service, and shipping and returns items, we're going to talk about that later on, closer to the end of the video, because we need to talk about the legal aspect of things. So as for now, that is all we need to touch upon. So we're going to add this to our menu, and then afterwards, again, save the menu. And if you want, you can rearrange the menu as you see fits, but I think this is perfectly fine for what we have right now. And so now we've customized our menus. So all we have to do right now is go back to our website. So let's head back to the tab with our website on it. And first things first, we need to add a container. So we're going to add a singular container and place it right there. And then we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of our sidebar menu to find another tool set labeled as the Elementor Header and Footer Builder, available because we actually downloaded the plugin. So drag the navigation, place it up here, and now to change this header menu, because right now it's set to the footer menu, we're gonna click on this drop down menu, click on main menu, and then now it is back to what we want it to be. And to change the layout, click on layout down here, and in this drop down menu you can change the layout to be horizontal or vertical if you want, but we're going to keep it as horizontal. And to align it, just click on alignment right here. Now in the style section, you can change the horizontal, vertical padding, space in between, and row spacing. Now the horizontal padding and space in between basically do the same thing, so you don't have to learn too much here. Same goes for the vertical padding and row spacing. So the row spacing changes how much distance there is between the top of the page and also the container closest to it. So we're going to leave it as is. And if you want to change the typography, you can go down here and text color. I like what we have right now, so I'm going to leave it as is. Now, the next thing we need to add is the logo. So we're going to add another container, click on this right here, and then we're going to grab an image, place it into this section, and then you can see this is very large right now. We will customize this, don't worry. So as we've been doing this whole time, go to our library and select the image you want and transfer it into Elementor. Now I already have this image right here for our logo, so I'm going to grab it, select it, and place it into the preview section. And for those of you that don't have a logo, I actually made this one using a website called Canva, so it allows you to customize text and make whatever image you want. So it's good just generally whenever you're making any image. So if you want to use that to make your logo, I will have a link to that website in the description below. And for those of you that are not really artistically inclined or talented, then you can use a website called Photoleap that allows you to input a description for any particular image, and AI will make a logo out of that description. So you can try that out as well. I'll put both of those links in the description below. So if you want to give them a look, well, they're down there. And now let's change the size of this logo. So the same way we changed the size of the league logos and the brands, we're just going to go to style up here and trigger the object fit menu by playing with the height. So go to this drop down menu, click on contain, and then we're going to change it to something that fits our liking. Now let's go to the bottom of the page and add our footer. So first thing we're going to do though is add 3 blocks here for our container. And then we're going to go back to the bottom of the sidebar menu to find the Elementor header and footer builder. I'll drag the navigation menu to the right block, and since it's already set to the footer, we don't need to change that now. But I do want to make this vertical, so we'll open up the layout setting and change it from the drop-down menu here. Then I'll align it in the center. In the middle block, I'll put contact info and some social icons. So first I need a header, so I'll go back to the side menu, drag it into the middle, and name it contact. Now, I'm going to just center this real quick, and then I'll duplicate it and change the size. Now I write the telephone number, and then I will duplicate it again to include an email. And to find the social icons, you just scroll down to the general section and grab them from there and place it right under the contact info. You can add items to this list by clicking right here, and then to add another social media icon, click on the image and add whatever you like. You can also search for it up here. I'll add Instagram because it rounds out the main social media platforms. So when you've decided, you click on it and insert it. Then it will be applied. I like to make these circular, which you can do just by going to shape just below here and selecting circle from the menu. So that's good enough for the middle block. As for the last one on the left, I'm going to include a map to round it out just because it looks nice. No other reason. Now, it's also easy to find since it's in the basic toolbar, so drag it to the block and I'll adjust it to fit the alignment of the other blocks. And there we go, we've done that. We've made our header and footer. Now let's add some finishing touches because while we did create the menu and the footer, we do need to just tweak a few more things. Now, you should know that you can change the location of this map by going up here in the search bar and searching whatever city you're in, and then it's going to change accordingly. Now I'm just going to adjust this to be 184 because it's more in line with the rest of these blocks. And now let's change the background of this container. So we're going to go to these 6 dots, go to style, and our background type is going to be classic, and then change it to whatever palette you want. But I'm going to change it to something more likened to this red color we have at the top. It balances it out, so let's make it a little brighter. And then we have to change the background text because you can barely see anything on the right. So to do that, I'm just going to show you how to do it for this text block, and then you know how to do it for the rest of them. So we're going to go to our style tab, go to text color, and then change it to white. And I'm just going to change the rest of the text to white, and I'll be right back with you. All right, so I've changed all the text. Now it looks readable. It is clean. The next thing I want to do is just change the border for this map. So to do that, click on this pen icon right here, go to the advanced tab, and scroll to the bottom where it says border. And in this border type, I'm going to set it to solid, And now let's update it and let's see what it looks like when we preview our changes. And everything is balanced out now. The header and footer really pull everything together and it gives it that professional look that we're going for. The carousel is functional, as you can see, and we know the accordions work, but my personal favorite part of the homepage is actually the footer. It's just the colors that make it nice to look at and just wraps up the page entirely. Now, if we were to click on one of these items in our footer, for example, it would take us to a default page that we would also have to customize. Now, I'm not going to edit every single page because you already know how to do so yourself, but there is more work left to be done before you're ready to start selling products. Before we do that though, I'll show you how to add a link to a button. You'll notice that I don't have a home button anywhere in my menu, and that's for a reason, because I wanted to make the logo a clickable link that takes us to the home page. So let's go back to the previous page and then go to the top and click on Edit Page. All you gotta do is click on the URL here and right click on it to copy the link. Then head back to the tab with our site on it, click on the logo, and at the bottom of the Content tab, you'll find this option to include a link. From the drop-down menu, you select Custom Link, and that is where you paste the URL. Afterwards, update it, and now you preview the changes again, and when you click on the logo, it will refresh the page, indicating that it works. Now, we're going to do the same thing just to this button right here. Although we don't need to grab the URL from the Edit Page tab, rather we can just click on Set Page, and I'll use the Jerseys one because it relates to the button. Then copy the URL from the search bar up here. Next up, I'll go to the tab with my website, click on the button, and then we can paste that link into this bar. Make sure to update it, and let's see how it works. So we click on the Find Out button, and there we go, that's all there is to it. Now, we've covered absolutely everything you would need to know to make your site, from adding text all the way up to making menus and links. But now comes the part where we make this a store. So to do that, head back to the WordPress dashboard and on the left-hand bar, look for a tab called WooCommerce. Now, this is something we downloaded as a plugin at the beginning of the video, if you remember, but if it didn't for some reason, then just go to the plugins and download WooCommerce that way. I've already set this up, but when you click on it, it'll ask you if you want a guided setup, and since I'm already going to show you how to do everything, you can simply skip this in the top right. You will have to specify where you're selling from though, but besides that, you'll be all caught up. Now, I do need to mention that to use WooCommerce, you need to purchase Elementor Pro, since it's one of those tools that we couldn't use before. There are some free alternatives such as SureCart, but I'm not the biggest fan of it because it's not integrated as well into WordPress for my liking, and I find WooCommerce makes my life a lot easier. And there's a lot you can do with Elementor without paying for it, as I've shown you, but this is one of those things that I prefer to not compromise on. If not, you can always check out SureCart and spend some time learning that. However, if you want to lighten the load on your wallet, don't forget there's that site-wide discount in the description, and you can also use our coupon code SiteStarters to give you an extra 10% off at checkout. Nevertheless, let's head to the settings options to tinker with those. The first we'll come across are the general settings. This is where you specify your location with your address and determine where you want to sell your products. There's 3 options to pick from, ranging from selling to all countries, or you can exclude certain ones through this bar that pops up, and then only select particular ones you want to sell to. In my case, I'll just leave for all countries on. Then the shipping location is similar in that you can ship to all countries you selected, or just all countries in general. Next is the option of shipping only to specific countries, which you would have selected in the previous tab, so you do the same here. Or if you just don't want to ship at all, you can select this last option right here. The third setting allows you to determine what the default store is for customers. So similarly to how some sites might change whether you're in Canada or the States, for example, you can determine if you do or don't want there to be a region or country default store, or just the same display for everyone around the world. If you're selling internationally, I suggest the second option so customers can get a price adjustment depending on their local currency. If it's local, then no default is fine. So if you have a local store, you're not selling internationally, then local is going to be perfect for you. For this next part, you should check mark all the boxes because it configures tax rates automatically at checkout, and the next 2 enable the use of coupons and calculate the discounts whether there's one or multiple. Lastly, you pick the currency you're selling in. So you click on this bar and find your particular one. This currency position is also super important, so double check this as it will determine where the position of the dollar sign is, as it could come after the price if you have right selected. So watch out for this. I know some currencies do have their symbol after the numbers, so just make sure it's correct. Afterwards, just make sure to save. Now we'll head back to the top and head to the Products tab. First thing you're going to see is this option to set a shop page. This is a way to set a base location for all of your products to be on. You can select any of the pages that we have here to be any of our default shop locations, but I don't like to select any page in particular because we're not going to have a base page for all of the products, so I will leave this unmarked. I'll show you a different way to do this later on. The product image here is just a placeholder in case you don't have any image for a product, so it'll just display this default instead. And just below this are the units of measurement you want to use for your weight and dimensions. Then lastly, you can customize reviews of your products, or you can disable them altogether. A nice feature of this is that it also gives you the option of receiving reviews by verified owners, so you don't get any random negative feedback from someone who didn't even purchase something from you. Save your changes from there as well. Next up is the Inventory tab, which is a subsection of the product settings. You definitely want to enable this if it isn't already. The first option here is how much you'll hold an item for a customer before they pay for it. So in this case, it'll be on hold for an hour, and if they haven't continued with their purchase, then it gets canceled. You can always change this to whatever you want from here. Also, do checkmark these boxes here as well so you can be notified for your stock, and make sure the email here is correct. Now, the low stock threshold is the point at which it will alert you that stock is low, and also will display it on the site. So you can set it to 2, 5, 20, or whatever. Just make sure you give yourself that breathing space to deal with it before it's entirely out of stock. Then the number below is what the algorithm will consider as being out of stock. Preferably, we'll set this to 0. Now, if you want to hide the out of stock message on your site, then check mark this box. And if you do choose to show it, then right here you can determine whether you want it to always show how much is in stock, or maybe when it's only low, or you can just choose to not show it at all. Now, for those of you with downloadable products, you can choose the download method, so it can either immediately start the process, but you should know that forcing a download is not very efficient for large files or high traffic sites because it ties up server resources, which could slow down the website for everyone else. But to not get bogged down with the technical aspect of it, I'll put it like this. Forced download is like handing out flyers directly to people. Then XXL redirect is like having a reliable friend hand out the flyers for you, and redirect only is like leaving the flyers on a park bench with a take one sign. Right? And so it's not very reliable, okay? And keep in mind that this one leaves you vulnerable to people just easily distributing copies of this download, meaning that you could be losing a lot of sales, which is why it's the last resort in cases where the other two options don't work. I would definitely be cautious of this because it's better to have one problem where a customer can't download something rather than losing hundreds of sales on it. Therefore, I wouldn't check this box off. Down below, you can choose whether people have to be logged in order to download a product, and here is the option of whether the customer has to wait for the payment to be completed, or they can download it as soon as they pay. And lastly, the download can either open in the browser for the customer, or it has to be downloaded to their system and they open it themselves. Then the next tab over is the tax tab. We start with the option of including or excluding tax from the prices listed on the site. Your choice will really depend on where you live. In Europe, taxes are included with the final prices, while in the States, you get the price before the taxes are applied at the checkout, since every state and even city has different taxes involved, so this one is based on where you live really. And right below this, you can choose whether you want the tax to be based on the customer's shipping or billing address or the shop's address. Similarly, the tax class determines how the item is taxed, obviously. You can choose it to vary based on the item. Then the standard rate is your regular local VAT or value-added tax. Then the reduced rate is where the government reduces taxes because your product is essential or beneficial to society. And while sports equipment and apparel do not quite fall under that. And zero rate is essentially where the item has no tax, but you can still claim back any tax based on the logistics it took to deliver the item. My preference is just a tax based on the item. It makes it a lot easier, but you can consider the other ones, of course. Next comes the shipping zones. So, Right now, we're selling to the whole world, but we need to edit the shipping methods, so let's do that by clicking Edit. From this page, click on Add Shipping Method, and you'll have 3 to choose from. The first is free shipping, which can be the standard, or you can have certain requirements such as a minimum order amount or a coupon. The option below this is the flat rate, which is the standard rate that is applied to all shipped products. Now, when you choose to tax this, it will apply the tax rate we just talked about in the other tab. You could also add extra cost to this if you like. And lastly is the local pickup, where the customer pays the VAT tax but not the delivery to your house. So typically you'd leave this blank since, well, they're picking it up. I like the flat rate personally, so when you pick an option and adjust it to your liking, you then hit create and the shipping method is set up. Now, to add specific shipping zones, you head back to the previous page and click on Add Zone. Then you can choose the name of this zone, and right under that you select the region. Now you can select all of them or go to a particular one to check it out, indicating that you're shipping to all the countries within this region, or you can click this arrow to open up the drop-down menu and you can select the countries manually. So, for example, we'll pick North America and we'll add the shipping rate for this region, again being the flat rate, and then it is all set up. When we go back to the main shipping page, you'll see that we have calibrated the global shipping rates and then the North American rates. You can change the rates for whatever country you want, but we'll just keep it at that for now. Now let's head over to the Payments tab. Here you set up the payment methods, but since this isn't a real store, I'll only show you where to go because it involves entering sensitive info like your social security number. And since I already set this up with another account, I can't do it twice. However, what you'll need to do is once you make it to this tab, you enable Woo Payments so customers can pay with Visa, MasterCard, you know, the traditional vendors. Then it'll take you to this page to finish setup, and when this page loads up, just click on the first option, where all you need to do is follow the steps, and by the end of it, you will be good to go. So there's not much else I need to explain in the Payments tab. The heavy lifting is done through the WooCommerce setup. The next tab isn't related to anything we're going to use in this video, but I'll explain it still. So the first question asks whether you want a customer to have an account to order something. I recommend not requiring it because it could hinder sales. You want to make the checkout process as smooth as possible. You can include the option of them making an account during the checkout process or on the My Account page. I check these off just because it gives you a higher chance of them making an account. The account erasure requests and personal data removal pertain to when a customer wants their account deleted and or their data removed from your servers. So checking these off will enable that to happen if requested by a customer. This one is up to you on whether you want it checked off or not. It just depends on your preference. Then the privacy policy can be set up by clicking on this link right here, where you're then taken to another page where WordPress has already made the policy for you. And all that you need to do is assign it to a particular page. I recommend making a page named Privacy Policy and then coming back here to select it from the drop-down menu. Then all you need to do is click on Use this page and then it'll be created. You just go back to your menu and place the policy page in there. And lastly, the personal data retention is just how long the customer data is held by you. The next tab is where we can manage our email notifications. So the first 3 things are what will be sent to your email regarding orders. If you click to manage them, then you can customize the content of that email. Then the rest of these are emails that will be sent to customers whether an order is completed or to reset their passwords, for example. Similarly, to customize it, you click on Manage and then you can change what they see when they receive an email from you. And if you scroll down a little further, you can see what the email will actually look like by clicking on this link right here. It's pretty basic, so that's why you can customize the header image and the footer as well as the color down below. Heading back to the top, the next tabs are the integration settings, which we're going to skip because it's not really relevant to this video, meaning all we have left are the super easy advanced and multi-currency settings. So the advanced settings sets a landing page for your basket, checkout, account page, and terms and conditions. Now, we're not going to make an account today, so we will ignore that, but we will focus on the other 3. So all you have to do right now is make the basket and checkout page. We already have the terms and conditions page set up from earlier on, so we're good on that front. So when you do have those made, just search for them in these search bars, such as the basket, and make sure to select them. You'll see this at work when we add them to our page, but for now, I'm just going to add the terms and conditions and the checkout page to our settings. Down below the page setup, you have this box forcing SSL checkout, which you absolutely check off because it provides a safer checkout experience for the customer, giving them an extra layer of security so they're not vulnerable. Then, everything else on this page relates to your URL, which we don't need to worry about for this video. And lastly, for the settings is the multi-currency, which is exactly what it sounds like. You can set up your store to deal in foreign currencies just by adding them from this button and picking them from this list. Even better is that when a customer from Germany, let's say, visits your site and you have euros added to your list, then you can just check this box off and it will automatically change the prices on your site to euros, making it a lot easier for the customer. And that basically wraps up all the settings. So now we can go ahead and start adding our products. Alright, so let's head back to the WooCommerce tab and start adding those products. Now, once you click on the first option here, it's going to show you a bunch of other products you might want to add. Now, it gives you a physical, variable, grouped, digital, and external product. Now, what you need to know is that we can alter the type of product we're selling in the physical product section, so we don't have to worry about that too much. So let's just go in and I'll show you that as we go along. Now, on this page, the first thing that shows up is the product title. I'm just going to copy the name of the products I already have in my folder, just like this, and then I'll paste it in this bar. Then down below, you type in a product description. I'm just using one that I made through the use of ChatGPT. You, of course, need to take more time and properly describe what it is you're selling. Then we scroll down a little further, and on the right side, you can add a photo of the item. Of course, I already transferred a lot of photos earlier on, so I'm just going to use that. You can add more photos of the item in the products gallery using the same method. And just below this are the product categories, which are important because you add your items to individual categories and it organizes them into individual pages, so you don't have to add every individual item onto the page yourself. Therefore, what we're going to need to do is replace the pages we already have in our main menu with these categories, which is very easy, so don't worry. And then we scroll down a little further to our product data. So first up, like I mentioned, you can change a physical item into a digital one just by checking off the virtual and download boxes here, at which point you'll notice the shipping tab disappearing because, well, it isn't necessary. Now, since I'll be focusing on physical products, we'll uncheck these boxes. Now, in the next tab, we have our prices, and the regular price here is the standard price for this product. And then this other box is for when you have a discount. So you just type in a price and it will show as a discount on the website. You can also schedule how long the sale will be on just by clicking on schedule just below here. Next is the inventory tab where you have your SKU. Of course, this product doesn't exist, so I don't have one, but that is where you'd put it. Then check mark this box to track the quantity of this product, and below you write how much you have. You can also allow or disable back orders depending on your situation. The low stock threshold is what we already set up in the settings, but you can still change it here. And lastly, you can limit one item per customer if you'd like. Now, shipping is easy enough. You just input the weight and dimensions of your product. Meanwhile, linked products are like suggestions that you give your customers. The upsells are products that are of better quality or price than whatever the customer is already viewing, so then the site suggests it to the customer. For example, if you're looking at one jersey and then there's a jersey on sale, it might suggest that one. Then cross-sells are suggestions for similar products that are already in their basket. You can link those in these bars here just by searching for them. Now, I don't have any items, but you get the idea. Following this are the attributes, which consist of things like size, color, material, or who this is recommended for. For example, you just click on Add New, write color, and then over here you write the colors. Just make sure to separate them with this bar. My jersey is red and blue, so it goes red, bar, blue, and then save it. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the sizing and material, and then we'll keep plugging along. Okay, so now that I'm done adding the attributes to this product, we've covered the main points for this section. We could add a purchase note from the advanced tab, but it's not quite necessary. There's also a short description that you can add if you'd like, but I will just because it gives some more substance. And now I'll just follow this whole process for a couple of more jerseys in order for us to display them on the page. Alright, so now that I'm done adding the rest of my jerseys, the only thing left to do after you finish making a product and setting everything up is going to this right hand side where it says publish and clicking on this blue button. Otherwise, it's not going to save your changes and then you're going to have to redo it all over again. So now I'm good to go, and the next thing we need to do is head over to the categories tab. On the categories page, you'll see the jerseys category I just made, and all of our jerseys are in there. But on this left side, you can make a whole new category or subcategory by changing the name, and the slug, which is just this last word for your URL, and the parent category, which if the jersey is selected in this case, it'll be a subcategory of the jerseys. Say I have, I don't know, a particular team's jersey, and then it's going to be a subcategory for this one. Otherwise, it's just going to be its own thing. Then there's the display type, and you can add an image for this. Once you're done, just add it here. The same rules apply for your existing categories, where you just click on them from the right and you're able to change that information. Now let's go back and view our jersey page. So I'll just right click on view, and here it is. I multiplied a couple jerseys, guilty as charged. I just did that so there's a better idea of what it looks like when there's more, and so we can scroll around. Now what we need to do is copy the URL and head back to our WordPress tab because we're going to replace the jersey item already on our menu. So we head to Appearance, Menu, and first of all, we delete this one by clicking on the arrow and removing it. Then we go to Custom Links on the left side, insert the URL into this top bar, and then underneath it we rename it Jerseys. And you know the drill, so all we have to do now is click on Add to Menu, and then it's going to add itself, and we just rearrange the menu, and there we go. So just make sure to save it, and we have added that page to our menu now. And now we're very close to wrapping everything up. So the next thing we need to do is go to our pages and add the basket and checkout pages. Now, I already did this ahead of time, so I suggest you do it as well, which allowed me to tie these pages in the settings section if you remember a little earlier on. So what we're going to do is we're going to open these in a new tab so we don't have to keep coming back here. So we're going to go to this tab, and both of these are going to open in the same way. You're going to have an Edit with Elementor button here, so click on this and then it's going to take you to Elementor. Now, the first thing we need to do here is just add a header that says basket. Then minimize these tabs until the WooCommerce one shows up. Then we grab the basket and place it into the preview. Now, we don't have anything in the basket, so it won't show us anything, but you'll see what happens when we do in a minute. Now, we update this and do the same for the checkout. So head over to the checkout tab. We'll give it a title. Of course, it'll be called checkout. Then go back to find the WooCommerce tab, minimizing the others again, and locate the checkout tool and place it into the preview. Now you have all these fields where the customer would input their credentials, address, and all of the necessary information basically. You can customize it a bit from the left-hand side. You can make this 2 columns or just 1. I prefer 2. And you can click on these other tabs where it'll open up that section of the checkout. For example, in the first name tab, you can change the alignments and the text. And if we close this, then we can go down to where our coupons are and change the alignment and text for that, and so on and so forth. You click on any of these tabs and then you can tweak them to your liking, albeit there isn't too much you can change from here. The same options are available for the basket as well. So if we go back to the basket tab, then on the left, you're able to change these settings here. Now, let's see how the checkout process works to make sure that it's actually functional. So we preview the page, go to the jerseys tab where you'll also see that it works, so that's good news. And let's click on this jersey where we have this cool magnifying tool to see the kit a little better. Below it, it shows these attributes that we added from the description, additional information, and then the reviews would go on the right. Another cool thing is that there are related items as well, as is usual for stores. Now let's go back up and add this to our basket. Then view our basket. And here we can see the checkout, and it has our total on the right, as well as the shipping location and the rate we set up earlier. The coupon code would go down below if we had one, but as far as the basket goes, it's all set up. The next thing left to do is to proceed to checkout and make sure that works as well. And there we go, it is fully functional. All the fields are present, and again, on the right side is our order summary. When a customer wants to order something, they would just select payment method from here. Of course, I didn't add any, but in your case, you'll have this all set up, and once they've put their payment information, it'll verify it, and afterwards, they just place the order, and there you go. Now you know how to do everything from a blank page all the way up to a customer placing an order, meaning that is all for this video, ladies and gentlemen. It has been quite the journey, but we finally made it to the end. Do make sure to leave your questions if you have them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Also, don't forget that you can use the link in the description below to get a site-wide discount on Hostinger, and to receive an extra 10% off, you can copy the site starters code in our description and use it when you're checking out with Hostinger. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to help us out. And as for now, that is all we have for today, but until next time, take care.